Well, this is a major update in Tropical Storm Gonzalo, now nearing hurricane status based on our latest analysis. Based on the latest National Hurricane Center, right now we have Tropical Storm Gonzalo right here, as you can see, designated not too long ago. So, 40 or 50 mile per hour, Gonzalo continues to strengthen, expected to become a hurricane by Thursday. So we are likely that this will be our first hurricane of the season, as it is expected to become a hurricane by Thursday, according to the National Hurricane Center. Now, if we take a look at that cone, as you can see, it is expected to remain a hurricane before hitting the lower Antilles. I do not specifically agree with that cone, but I'll talk about that later. And then if I was to extend that cone, it would do something a little bit like this. So possibly making a close approach to Florida, but most likely making, if it is going to be remaining its strength over that period, possibly making a landfall somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico. But right now we're looking at a significant storm, hurricane status, and now we're about to take a look at our track right here from Lasty News, and as you can see, our track does bring it to Category 1 status, even Category 2 status before making that landfall on the lower Antilles and staying as a Category 1 through the end of that cone. We do cover it a little bit more north than them, but that's probably going to change soon because those has changed a little bit. But right now, we do expect a peak of 100 mile per hour. Back to this, we're about to take a look at those satellite imagery just so that we do get of what's going on with the system. So that was earlier today. As you can see, earlier today we had a very strong, and we did have some kind of something. Let me change the color here. We did have something, trying to wrap up. We had something going on. It was kind of wrapping up. Here's that low pressure center, and we had really bands starting to form. So it was a very healthy storm. Throughout the day, it kind of started. Those bands did start to break off, but that does not mean it still got very strong. And then we really started getting that eye wall forming. And at some point, even we really thought there was an eye forming here. And we do have, the National Hurricane Center did say that there's indication of an eye forming and an eye wall, if not an actual eye. And as you can see in those later frames, there's actually a eye clearing out right here. I'm going to try to make it a little bit smaller. But you can see this is the eye clearing out. And so we are getting an eye with this system, very strong convection, and it does look like a very, very healthy system. Very nice round shape, and then you've got the eye clearing out in the middle with that eye wall throughout, and now we just need this to really close in before that eye can significantly clear out. So it is looking a lot better. If you look at the visible high resolution, you're going to be able to really use the same thing there. Very nice system. And soon we will get this eye start to clear out eventually in the next couple of hours. So it is looking significantly better. Now, first I'm going over just the normal info. Here's a look at the intensity guidance for this system. So as you can see, we have two areas. Either there's two groups really. Either it goes, we have those two groups right here. Okay. So the first group, it goes to a high to mid-level, a strong to medium tropical storm before weakening at around hour 36, start to weaken, or we get a hurricane in the next 24 to 48 hours, and that strengthens to possibly a strong Cat 1 or Category 2 and kind of flattens out there. So here's pretty much our two possibilities with this. And there we go. So here are our two possibilities, really. Either it strengthens to Cat 1 or Cat 2 and kind of stays at that level throughout its life, or it does strengthen to a very weak Category 1, maybe a strong tropical storm, and then weaken significantly throughout. So those are really our two possibilities. If I were to have a model here, this is kind of what my model would say. Strengthen to a Cat 1, kind of stay there, go up to Category 2, and then kind of weaken and then strengthen back up. Something a little bit like that. But I would agree pretty closely with the HWFI model, the HWF, I don't know how you call it, but I would agree pretty closely with that one, staying at around Cat 1 and Cat 2 status throughout its life before maybe strengthening significantly later on. Now we're about to have a look at those foreskin models here. So as you can see, pretty much all of the models do bring it south of those islands, and then it does potentially curve up north of the Dominican Republic and Cuba, or it does stay south. So that is really what we're going to have to figure out. As you can see, here's a look at the GFS model. Now, the GFS model brings it into a weaker route because it does bring it south of those islands, but then it does stay throughout stuff over Cuba and Dominican Republic, and very potentially affects Florida. So this is a little bit of the cone from the GFS. If we had to make a cone for the GFS, this is a little bit of what it looked like. Florida definitely in that cone, and here's the cone from the GFS. So pretty much heading straight for Florida if it does take that cone. So Florida is definitely not out of the question. Mississippi, Alabama, this entire area would be in that cone if we had to make a cone for the GFS, as you can see right here. And then if we had to look at the CMC, as you can see, it is a lot splitter. If you had to make a cone for the CMC, it would go like that would be the cone. So the CMC does not know what's going on. It does look like it's pretty much split 50-50. Either it goes north and curves out, or it goes south into the Gulf. But the CMC is not very reliable right now for this system. But those would be the two different possibilities, it seems like, if this had to form into anything. So like I said, right now we're really looking at a severe storm. It's likely that we get a very severe storm with this, and impacts to Florida or impacts to the East Coast are still not out of the question. We could have very likely impacts either first off the Caribbean, and impacts throughout the Gulf of Mexico, Florida, even up to North Carolina are not out of the question. And I would not be surprised if we do get impacts to the East Coast. Now we're about to take a look at the foreskin models for the system. So we'll just put the north. We'll just go to like the North Atlantic. So first off, let's just have a look at the GFS. So it does have that system right here from the GFS model. It does not have finished rendering, but we do have that system right here. Here's 91L over there. We'll talk about that in another video. But GFS does have a 995 tropical storm, 997, 997, and then it does weaken. So it does have a strong to moderate tropical storm, maybe hurricane, and then it does weaken it, kind of like the National Hurricane Center, and that's where it ends. So from the GFS, it pretty much we have a system that moves through here, weakens, and it kind of stays here. So really, it could probably go here or on here, but the GFS does have a weaker system coming out of the Eastern Caribbean. So that's that. I do know that the European model also has a little bit of a weak system with this. So most models aren't catching up to the latest hurricane forecast because, as you can see, the European model has a system very broad and then weakening back into an open wave in the next 72 hours. And as we now know, that is most likely not what's going to happen. And it does have a second system forming the Gulf. That's a 20% area that we have put right here for a second system that's going to be potentially forming. So right now, most models, they're just not catching up with the latest information and what is likely to be happening. It just seems that they're really not catching up with that latest information. Where we do know that I'm going to put the flight level winds just to give you a perspective. And flight level winds, again, we're just getting a weak tropical storm. So it does look like most models really and then we do get that second system that's going to be something we're going to have to watch out because most models do form that second system. But just the models right now, they're just not going with a strong storm, and I just don't know why we don't have at least have some models going with a hurricane with this. Because the National Hurricane Center even says that this could be a hurricane, and we just have no model support whatsoever for this model, except from the HWRF we have a very good model support of the HWRF. So, boom. Okay, this is right now 1,007 millibars, flight level winds. Okay, now in the next 6 hours, 7 hours, 12 hours, in the next 15 hours, it shows a moderate to strong In the next, pretty much in the next 24 hours, it shows a hurricane, right? Hurricane, possibly category 2. And we do get a category 2, 977, possibly a category 2 landfall in those islands from the HWRF. And it does keep that intensity throughout. So really the model I would most agree and I think is the most probable is this model showing a Cat 1, a Cat 2 with this system, because just all the models are very, it just looks like they're not really seeing what they're seeing, what other really they're not really seeing what other are saying, other models, etc. Now we do have a recon aircraft mission. I'm not sure if it's going anywhere. Um, Looks like it might not be anything. I just thought it could be something. But right now we have just the right condition for a system. The biggest problem really is going to be dry air, which I'm going to talk about after. But the models just aren't catching up. Ocean analysis, we have great water temperatures for that. And so really right now we just have a system that's strengthening as we speak. Could even be almost a hurricane with a eye that is clearing up. But we just have no model support whatsoever for this system, which is really why, and the National Hurricane Center has been underplaying this system as well. So, I'm going to have more updates, but really also what we really need to watch out for. Let me go back to the foreskin models. If we go to, I'm not going to show it, but basically, let's just put North Atlantic here. Basically, the only thing that could really weaken the system at this point is this. So, this system it's here, right? And we have this area of dry air and, Saharan dust kind of thing moving right here, moving at a pretty fast pace this way. Now, the problem is this system, it could very well, depends on where it moves, but if it moves here, we're going to have a little bit of a weak system moving very fast with this area. So really what we want this to move a little bit slow so that this area of dry air can, move away from the system before it gets really sucked up in dry air. So at this point, the only reason it would weaken is dry air intrusion in the center and probably wind shear as it gets in the Eastern Caribbean. But right now, this is our latest forecast, and we do have that 20% and 50% for 91L.